Not bad. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. He suddenly thought of another question and asked again, if I use the Book of Misfortune to curse others, will it also strengthen the cursed fiend celestial? If that was the case, wouldn't the Book of Misfortune be useless? No! Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. If not for the Book of Misfortune, he wouldn't have been able to kill those powerful enemies that far exceeded him. Hanju immediately made his choice. You choose to cultivate in a low-profile manner and stay away from the cursed fiend celestial. You will obtain a great Dao fragment and a heavenly Dao spirit stone. He took out the Book of Misfortune and the heavenly Dao spirit stone and started to fuse them. Several months later, the Book of Misfortune was successfully upgraded. It transformed from a Freedom Numinous Treasure to a Freedom Supreme Treasure. After successfully upgrading the Dharma Treasure, Hanju entered cultivation. Next, he wanted to break through to the mid-stage of the Freedom Primordial Chaos Realm. The birth of the cursed fiend celestial did not affect the immortal world. Ever since the sages discussed about Kundi's death, the various sage sects began to take action. The sage sects each sent disciples to the various mortal worlds to teach Dao techniques. Not only was the immortal world developing rapidly, but the mortal worlds were also the same. The chaotic cities of the immortal world began to recruit living beings to search the nearby dark forbidden zone and create a teleportation formation to help the immortal world expand. For a time, the entire heavenly Dao fell into a busy state. The sages did not stop and continued preaching. More and more Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals appeared. In addition to the existence of the Heavenly Dao Providence Board, their reputation spread very quickly. 5,000 years passed in a flash. Hanju's seclusion ended and he began to preach the Dao to the hidden sect disciples. The great Dao of extreme origin covered the 100-peak immortal river while his gaze looked at the immortal world. Hanyu had just reached the deity realm not long ago. He was now one of the 10 great war gods of the human race. His providence was connected to the human race. Even someone as strong as ancestor Shitian was still being attacked by the inauspicious evil, mysterious Dao devils, and mysterious mighty figures. It was truly tragic. Indeed, only the heavenly Dao was the safest. Hanju thought silently. The cursed fiend celestial has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 6.5 stars. This notification appeared in front of him, indicating that the intelligence of the cursed fiend celestial had already been born. Hanju didn't care. 100 years later, the lecture ended and he continued cultivating. 500 years later, he finally had the chance to break through. Hanju began to break through in seclusion. Unknowingly, Hanju was already 160,000 years old. He could be called an ancient existence by all living beings. Hanju sighed as he consolidated his cultivation. At the same time, outside the immortal world, towards the north, a majestic sea of fire attacked from the darkness. The sea of flames was unknown. In the torrential flames, figures emitting a terrifying aura stepped on the flames. In the lead was a burly figure that was 1,000,000 feet tall. He wore purple-black heavy armor and held a spear that was longer than his body in each of his forearms. His waist was surrounded by fire dragons that constantly breathed out, looking sinister and terrifying. Children of the flame race, the heavenly Dao is ahead. As long as we break through the heavenly Dao, the flame race won't have to hide anymore. The 1,000,000-foot-long figure roared angrily. His voice alerted the chaotic city at the edge of the immortal world. Before he could finish speaking, the billions of flame race living beings swept over like a wave. The chaotic city was shocked. They gathered the disciples of the various sects to prepare for battle. A world-shattering battle erupted. Outside the 33rd heaven, the south extreme heavenly venerate walked out of his Dao field. He waved his right hand and wanted to cast a spell to directly destroy the flame race, but his expression changed. The moment his dharmic powers left the heavenly Dao, they were negated by a domineering force. An existence beyond the sages was lurking in the dark. Humph, don't interfere in battles below the sage realm. A cold voice sounded, causing the south extreme heavenly venerate's face to turn ashen. At this moment, a sword chi shot out from the universal hall and vanished into the darkness. You don't know your limits. The cold voice sounded again. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's sword chi dissipated as soon as it left the heavenly Tao. 7 See it N Felb N C M for L test vel soon. The sages gathered in the universal hall. Heavenly Venerate Wufa said, the chaos is endless. There are also powerful races hidden. The reason why Undying Tao appeared was to stop the sages from interfering and facilitate the invasion of the flame race. The heavenly Tao can only isolate existences above the sages. The flame race has no sages. As long as they break through the defense line, they can enter the heavenly Tao. If they slaughter all the living beings in the heavenly Tao and abandon the heavenly Tao's providence, the heavenly Tao will die. Everyone, give the order to be on guard. Other than the battle with the flame race, the other chaotic cities have to increase their manpower. Understood. The sages sent voice transmissions. Emperor Shao asked, should we ask Hanju to help? Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, Undying Tao is an existence that far exceeds the Dark Sage King. If fellow Taoist Han is confident, he will naturally attack. In the previous Heavenly Devil calamity, Tao Heavenly Devil came from Undying Tao's subordinate. His hatred for the Heavenly Tao is deeply rooted. He has always felt that he is stronger than the Tao ancestor, but the Heavenly Tao did not choose him. The other sages frowned. Sure Du Tao muttered, perhaps I shouldn't have attained the Tao so early. He was confident in his strength and was invincible among those of the same realm. Even Li Daokong was not his match. But he could only be a spectator now. The sages nodded. At the same time, the battle in the north outside the immortal world had already erupted. The sage sects sent a large number of disciples to the battlefield. Countless cultivators appeared in the sky of the immortal world, and all of them flew in the same direction. The scene was extremely spectacular. This matter shocked the entire immortal world. All living beings did not understand what was happening an hour later. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's voice resounded through the myriad worlds. The chaos is attacking the heavenly Tao. The flame race is attacking with billions of sinister devils. The other party has an existence that surpasses the sages. To stop the sages from interfering, the cultivators of the myriad worlds must go and provide assistance. This will be the first defensive battle in the history of the Heavenly Tao where all living beings work together. If the Heavenly Tao is broken by the flame race, all living beings will be in danger. The Heavenly Tao will be in danger. The various races and sects have to work together to survive. With that, powerful figures flew down from the 33rd heaven. These were almighty figures who had listened to the Tao in the sage Tao fields. On the other side, the 100-peak immortal river was also alarmed. The personal disciples came to the Taoist temple. They couldn't sit still if the heavenly Tao was in trouble. The hidden sect had already supported many factions, which meant that Hanju wanted to take root in the immortal world. The disciples knelt in front of the door and waited uneasily. After a while, Hanju's voice floated out. Li Xianao, recruit disciples above the deity realm and volunteer to protect the heavenly Tao. The personal disciples could also go out. It happened so suddenly that Hanju had no choice but to change his stance. He had just checked the battlefield. The foundation of the flame race was extremely terrifying. There were more than 1,000 zenith heavens. There were fewer zenith heaven golden immortals in the entire heavenly Tao than in the flame race. It was really a matter of life and death. Yes! Li Xianao stood up excitedly and started to gather the disciples. The personal disciples dispersed, leaving the Black Hell Chicken behind. The Black Hell Chicken shouted, Master, can the heavenly Tao win? Why do you ask? Should we prepare to run away? The black hell chicken's voice trembled. Hanju remained silent. The flame race was indeed menacing. However, it was still not a life and death matter for him. He could try to stop them first. If he really couldn't, Hanju would directly use the invocation Dao and summon all the disciples back to run away. The array formation of the Dao field itself could resist the existence of the great Dao. Even without the heavenly Dao, Hanju might not die directly. Run if he couldn't win? The chaos was huge, there was definitely a place to hide. Hanju said, "Run? Where to?" The black hell chicken said, "Wherever master goes, I'll go. Get lost." Okay. The black hell chicken flew away. On that day, Li Xianeo calculated that there were 20,000 deity realm disciples. Among the personal disciples, other than the black hell chicken and the chaotic heavenly dog, everyone was willing to go and fight the flame race. Among them were Dao Sovereign, Zhao Xinyuan, Jiang Yi, Chu Shiren, Li Xianeo, and 5 other zenith heavens. Hanju waved his hand and sent them out. After that, he looked up. The war at the edge of the heavenly Dao was already very tragic. A large number of cultivators had died. The flame race also suffered heavy casualties, but they couldn't hold on to their numbers. Hanju came to the 33rd heaven. He quickly traveled through the edge of the heavenly Dao and frantically used the simulation trial to test. Several breaths later, he finally detected undying Dao. This fellow had a 2-star hatred towards him. It appeared when the Dark Sage King died. Hanju returned to the Daoist temple. He directly entered the simulation trial and fought with undying Dao. He was defeated in less than 10 breaths of time. Hanju tried his best but still couldn't block undying Dao's domineering dermic powers. He didn't try again. The difference in strength was not something that could be reversed with experience. Hanju suddenly sighed. Without the ancestor, the situation of the heavenly Dao is really different. In the past, when ancestor Shitian was around, even if the Dao destruction mystical power eliminated 90% of the living beings, the chaos did not dare to rashly invade the heavenly Dao. Hanju hesitated to curse undying Dao to death. Would this expose his identity? Damn it! When the heavenly Dao perished, the danger would be even greater than exposing his identity as the Dark Forbidden Lord. Hanju looked up. As the experts of the immortal world joined the battlefield, the speed at which the defensive line retreated began to decrease. However, it was still unable to block the attacks of the flame race. The morale of the flame race was too strong. Even their weakest member risked his life. Hanju discovered that the middle-level forces of the flame race were not much. They were severely lacking in the deity realm. Most of the living beings were between Grand Unity Earth Immortal and Grand Unity True Immortal. It seemed that the development of the flame race was very abnormal. It might be related to their cultivation techniques. From the looks of it, the immortal world might not lose. Hanju decided to wait and see. It just so happened that the living beings of the heavenly Dao needed a calamity to unite. As more and more cultivators headed to the outer battlefield of the heavenly Dao, rumors of various battlefields spread in the immortal world and the myriad worlds. It's said that the flame race has more than 1,000 zenith heaven golden immortals. So many? It's too tragic. The netherworld is about to be filled. Is the flame race that terrifying? Didn't you pay attention to the Heavenly Dao Providence board? Several mighty figures in the top 20 have lost their rankings. They almost died on the battlefield and had no choice but to use Providence to protect their souls. They would rather die without regrets. More and more races began to issue orders. All the disciples of the immortal realm had to participate. It was the same for the newly risen humans. Because already experts from the flame race had stepped into the immortal world. The flame race was unstoppable. However, they could only step on it and could not advance anymore. In the extreme north of the immortal world, a mighty figure that shone with light stood proudly under the sky. He kept waving his horsetail whisk, causing monstrous dermic powers to form terrifying hurricanes. They spread out in an arc and occupied an area of 800 million kilometers, preventing the pseudo-sage of the flame race from breaking into the depths of the immortal world. This mighty figure was the three pure sacred ancestor. Now that the immortal world was in trouble, Hanju naturally didn't forget him. The three pure sacred ancestor was invincible in the immortal world. Among the pseudo-sages, it was definitely the strongest existence. It was the most suitable to guard the border of the immortal world. Outside the Suisa RD heaven. Seeing the three pure sacred ancestor attack, the sages heaved a sigh of relief. The south extreme heavenly venerate muttered to himself, "Strange? Limui is dead. Who is the three pure sacred ancestor listening to now?" Sect Master Tianju said, "Can't he have the intention to protect the heavenly Tao?" The south extreme heavenly venerate felt that it made sense and no longer doubted it. He continued to pay attention to the battlefield. The three pure sacred ancestor blocked all the pseudo-sages of the flame race alone, giving the immortal world a chance to rest. The leader of the flame race raised his forearms and shouted angrily, "Members of the flame race, impart the providence of the great Tao to me." His voice not only resounded throughout the battlefield, but even the entire immortal world could hear it. It was deafening. More than 100 million flame race living beings sacrificed their providence. Streaks of light flew out from their bodies and rushed towards their leader. The scene was magnificent and illuminated the dark space. Because the leader of the flame race had retreated outside the immortal world, the three pure sacred ancestor could not hurt him. The three pure sacred ancestors' power quickly spread throughout the immortal world, making all living beings heave a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was such an expert in the immortal world. Hanju had been watching the battle, delaying his cultivation. This couldn't continue. Hanju sighed and silently took out the Book of Misfortune. The Dark Forbidden Lord has to save the world again. His fame and fortune are all occupied by you sages. I'm the one taking the blame. Sigh. How can there be a savior as low profile as me in the world? Hanju started cursing undying Tao. 5 days later, Hanju's lifespan began to decrease. In just 5 days, countless people died in the battle at the edge of the immortal world. Negative karma soared. The pseudo-sages of the flame race began to split up and lead the troops to attack, causing the three pure sacred ancestor to be unable to take care of all the enemies. A group of flame race living beings had already entered the immortal world. The leader was a pseudo-sage with 50 zenith heavens under him. The immortal world was in chaos. The sages had a headache. The morale of the flame race was too strong, even stronger than the living beings in the immortal world. All of them charged like mad. As long as there was a breath left, they would fight 100 battles without stopping. Hanju didn't pay attention to the immortal world. He stared at his attributes panel and emails. 1 trillion years of lifespan. 10 trillion years. 100 trillion years. 500 trillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Undying Tao's Tao heart has been damaged. Continue. Since he wanted to curse, he would send this guy off in one go. It was best to intimidate the deity realm of the ruins of End. Hanju cursed with all his might. 800 trillion years. 1 quadrillion years. 2 quadrillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Undying Tao's Tao is destroyed. His providence is in chaos and his soul is damaged. Your enemy Undying Tao was attacked by your good friend Ancestor Shitian and was severely injured. Ancestor Shitian had returned? Hanju immediately stopped. Since Ancestor Shitian had made a move, he didn't have to waste his lifespan. He looked up and saw that outside the heavenly Tao, the space occupied by Undying Tao was shattered. Endless chaotic lightning interwove, and Undying Tao's aura rapidly faded. He felt another vast aura. Ancestor Shi Tian. The ancestor had returned at a critical moment. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du also discovered this matter. With a wave of his sleeve, he directly destroyed the headquarters of the flame race, which was outside the heavenly Tao. Tens of millions of flame race living beings turned to dust one after another. They were unable to resist at all. The living beings who had perished looked at the dust ahead and fell into despair. The despair did not last long. In less than 3 breaths of time, the tens of millions of living beings of the flame race were all dead. Not even a remnant soul was left. It could be seen that Heavenly Venerate Xian Du had attacked in anger after enduring for a long time. In the immortal world, the leader of the flame race, who was still fighting, sensed something and suddenly turned around. His eyes instantly turned red. No! The flame race member roared hoarsely and quickly waved his 4 spears, causing rolling flames to drown countless cultivators of the immortal world. He wasn't the only one. The other flame race mighty figures also discovered the situation behind them. The flame race has nowhere to run. Once we leave, we will be slaughtered by sages. Children, we can only kill until the end. The flame race will continue to grow stronger and not fear death. Kill! Undying Tao was only severely injured and not killed. The ancestor was still a little lacking. He actually couldn't kill this fellow. Hanju had spent 2 quadrillion years of his lifespan. The more Hanju thought about it, the more depressed he became. No! He had to kill Undying Tao. Although 2-star hatred points was not high, this fellow had always wanted to destroy the heavenly Tao. Without it, he would be in danger. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and continued cursing. 5 days later, his lifespan began to decrease. At the same time, the flame race was already exhausted. Their weakest living beings were Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals, with less than 300 members. They had nowhere to run and could only fight to the death. The leader of the flame race felt sorrow. After the immortal world knew that they were about to win, they were all extremely excited and mocked the flame race. You dare to invade the immortal world with just you? What flame race? I've never heard of them. Humph, where's your sage protector? Did he run away? Poor thing. Do you really think that the heavenly Tao can be destroyed by your race? Cut off his head and put it at the edge of the immortal world to warn the hidden races in the chaos. Although this battle was short, there were no fewer casualties in the immortal world than in the flame race. At least 10 billion living beings had died. Torrential anger filled the hearts of every participant. It was useless even if the flame race surrendered. The flame race didn't plan to surrender, either. In the distance, Great Loose Heaven said, "Sacred Ancestor, aren't you going to kill him?" His words were agreed by the other pseudo-sages, who did not understand what the 3 pure sacred ancestor was waiting for. The 3 pure sacred ancestor did not answer. He stared calmly at the leader of the flame race. The leader of the flame race smiled sadly. That's right. Come and kill me. Let's see how many pitiful Zenith Heavens I can drag down with me. After recognizing the reality, the leader of the flame race no longer felt any pressure. The other flame race mighty figures also revealed determined expressions. There was no change in this battle. In the end, all the flame race members died. The corpse of the leader of the flame race was sealed into a 1,000,000-foot-tall mountain to warn his descendants. On the other side, Hanju was still focused on cursing Undying Tao. His lifespan was quickly deducted by a quadrillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Undying Tao's Tao heart shattered and his body was destroyed. Continue. His body and soul had yet to be destroyed. Hanju gritted his teeth and persisted. Another quadrillion years of lifespan was thrown in. Because of your curse, your enemy Undying Tao's soul and cultivation dissipated. The Great Tao is filled with pity. Thunderclouds rumbled as if the sky was crying. This was the only explanation. Hanju adjusted his state and started to improve his sword Dao mystical powers. Several months later, he continued to cultivate the grand unity aspect. However, just as he began, Ancestor Shitian's voice entered his ears. Ancestor Shitian was stronger than him. Furthermore, he could be active in the heavenly Dao. Hanju wasn't a heavenly Dao sage. If he died in the heavenly Dao, he would really die and not be revived endlessly by the heavenly Dao. Does Ancestor Shitian have any intention of killing me? 170 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? The value of the ancestor seemed to have increased. Continue. Not for the time being. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. Li Daokong sighed. Sect Master, do you still remember how we listened to the Dao together in the Great Ultimate Hall? Shi Dao stared at him curiously. He was very curious about the sect master of the hidden sect. For some reason, he inexplicably felt that Hanju was like the Dark Forbidden Lord. At this moment, the door to the Great Ultimate Hall opened and the sages entered. Ancestor Shitian was sitting on a mat. When the sages came in front of him, he opened his eyes and waved his right hand. A mat appeared behind each sage. The sages meditated. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate was the first to speak. Ancestor, you're finally back. If not for you, the Heavenly Dao would probably be in danger. The other sages also flattered him with some sincerity. Previously, when they saw the flame race attack the immortal world, they were all extremely nervous. After the Heavenly Dao restarted, the foundation of the immortal world was still a little lacking. However, there were many living beings but not enough mighty cultivators. Ancestor Shitian sighed. Before I attacked, misfortune befell Undying Dao. Someone was cursing him. The sages were stunned. Sect Master Tianju narrowed his eyes and said, Dark Forbidden Lord. Be it the Heavenly Dao or the deity realm of the ruins of End, many people pretended to be the Dark Forbidden Lord and cursed the enemy. However, only the Dark Forbidden Lord's curse could injure a great Dao sage. The sages began to sigh. It's the Dark Forbidden Lord again. In that case, he supports the Heavenly Dao. Who is the Dark Forbidden Lord? In the past, I felt that it was fellow Daoist Hanju. Now, it seems that it shouldn't be. If fellow Daoist Hanju can kill Undying Dao, he would have directly attacked earlier. Cough cough, fellow Daoist Han is here with us. What nonsense are you saying? Ha ha ha. Perhaps because they had experienced many calamities together, the sages also began to joke about Hanju as if they were close. Hanju didn't answer but snorted in his mind. It's fine if you want to cause trouble, but don't joke with me. Although Li Daokong, Shi Dao, and Fang Liang did not say a word, they didn't want Ancestor Shitian to leave either. Before they attained the Dao, they knew that the one who truly protected the Heavenly Dao was not a sage, but Ancestor Shitian, the Dao Ancestor's close friend. Ancestor Shitian continued, I've discussed with the great Dao sages in the deity realm of the ruins of End and decided to go together to suppress the ancient desolate. In the next period of time, the deity realm of the ruins of End should not disturb the Heavenly Dao, but you can't let your guard down. There are many races like the flame race hidden in the chaos. Some of them were expelled by the Heavenly Dao, and some were born from the creation of mighty figures. In the long years, they have already risen. Because of the existence of the immeasurable calamity, the Heavenly Dao's strength has always been restricted. Instead, it has fallen behind the chaos. I don't know why the Dao ancestors set the rules like this, nor can I guess. Hearing this, the sages did not feel good. To be honest, the invasion of the flame race had deeply stimulated them. They even blamed the Dao ancestor. Heavenly Venerate Shendu asked, what is hidden in the ancient desolate that actually requires the great Dao sages to join forces? Ancestor Shitian said, Pangu's killing intent. The sages were stunned. Pangu split the world apart and his body transformed into all things, but his killing intent was not recorded in the legends. Back then, Pangu slaughtered 3,000 chaotic fiend celestials to attain the Tao. His killing intent even began to bewitch his Tao heart. He had no choice but to extract his killing intent and suppress it in the heavenly Tao. As time passed, more and more chaotic fiend celestials appeared again and resonated with Pangu's killing intent. After undergoing Tao integration, the Tao ancestor had no choice but to suppress Pangu's killing intent in the ancient desolate. Once this killing intent appears, it will definitely reproduce the scene of blood cleansing the chaos. Ancestor Shitian sighed and the sages fell silent. Hanju was deep in thought. Could that supreme power be Pangu's killing intent? Wait. Could Pangu be alive? Hanju's heart tightened. He felt that it was very possible. Under normal circumstances, who was willing to sacrifice themselves to create a new world? Anyway, Hanju didn't want to. After the heavenly Tao was established, the mighty figures of the later generations also proved one thing. Creating a world did not necessarily mean sacrificing oneself. For example, Li Muyi and ancestor Shitian had both created their own little heavenly Tao. Ancestor Shitian suddenly looked at Hanju and said, Hanju, which chaotic fiend celestial are you? The sages also looked at him. Hanju said, Heavenly constellation fiend celestial. In any case, the heavenly constellation fiend celestial had already been born. However, on second thought, something was wrong. He had already created the heavenly constellation fiend celestial. If there was another heavenly constellation fiend celestial, the two heavenly constellation fiend celestials should be able to sense each other. After all, they were both of the same great Tao. This old dog is tricking me? Hanju asked in his mind, is ancestor Shitian tricking me? 170 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes. Hanju secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He was very dissatisfied with ancestor Shitian. Why are you tricking me for no reason? Trying to mess with me? I think you're asking for a curse. Seeing that Hanju didn't answer, ancestor Shitian continued to ask, What? Do you have something you can't say? Hanju pretended to be bitter and said, I don't understand what you mean, ancestor. I'm the heavenly constellation fiend celestial. The heavenly constellation fiend celestial is me. There can't be two chaotic fiend celestials that are the same. What do you want to say to me, ancestor? I don't understand how I offended you. I can be said to be diligent in dealing with the heavenly Tao. I interfere every time the heavenly Tao is in trouble. I don't usually rely on the heavenly Tao to cultivate. I have a clear conscience towards the heavenly Tao. If the heavenly Tao doesn't tolerate me, I'll leave. He immediately stood up. The other sages dissuaded him. Fellow Taoist Han, what are you doing? Ancestor doesn't mean that. He's just puzzled. Ancestor, Hanju really sacrificed a lot for the heavenly Tao. During the time you left, if not for him, we would have long collapsed. Yes, so what if Hanju is not the heavenly constellation fiend celestial? In any case, he belongs to the heavenly Tao. Sect Master, if you want to leave, I'll leave too. The sages took Hanju's side. The reason was that ancestor Shitian was about to leave. They could still rely on Hanju. Ancestor Shitian said helplessly, I'm just asking. I don't really know the heavenly constellation fiend celestial. Why are you angry, young friend Hanju? The eyes of the sages flickered. They also remembered the variable that the Tao ancestor had mentioned, but they didn't expect the deity realm of the ruins of En to have also tried to rope Hanju in. Ancestor Shitian was expressionless, but he was also dissatisfied with Dijuan. Humph. He didn't expect Dijuan to scheme behind his back. Ancestor Shitian said, "Since you are the heavenly constellation fiend celestial, I will entrust the heavenly Tao to you. Only you are a freedom sage. I hope that you can protect the heavenly Tao. If I can return alive, I will give you a huge opportunity." Hanju neither agreed nor disagreed. Why was he tricking him for no reason? To put it bluntly, he didn't trust him. He couldn't take Ancestor Shitian's opportunity. Heavenly Venerate Wufa couldn't help but ask, "Senior, your cultivation is so high. Are you really going to offer yourself to the ancient desolate?" In his opinion, even if Pangu's killing intent broke out, Ancestor Shitian could still hide. Back when Pangu attained the Tao, some chaotic fiend celestials had survived. Ancestor Shitian glanced at him and said, "Destroying Pangu's killing intent is not only to protect the heavenly Tao and the chaos but also to attain the Tao. Whoever can defeat Pangu will inherit his vast providence." I see. The sages were enlightened. In that case, they believed him. Universal Hall. Hanju and Heavenly Venerate Shendu sat down. Heavenly Venerate Shendu said, "Ancestor Shitian is suspicious of you. You have to be careful." Hanju said, "I understand." Heavenly Venerate Shendu's favorability towards him far exceeded Ancestor Shitian's. Hanju also had a good impression of him. "I called you here this time to talk about the reincarnation space. I've decided to occupy the Earth Immortal World. Next, the reincarnation space will fight against the infinite space with all its might. After expelling the infinite space, I'll let the reincarnation space occupy the Earth Immortal World and personally connect the providence of the Earth Immortal World to the Heavenly Tao to expand it," Heavenly Venerate Shendu said in a low voice. Seeing that he didn't have to interfere, Hanju put down his concerns and asked, "Are you confident?" "Don't worry. Now that the mighty figures of the deity realm of the ruins of End can't make a move in time, Jin Yuanzi has also been invited to the ancient desolate. The mysterious chaotic fiend celestial of the Earth Immortal World and the sage behind the infinite space are not the freedom sages and are not my match. I'm the best choice for this task. After all, my master is still very intimidating. After I leave, fellow Taoist Han, help me keep an eye on Sect Master Tianju," Heavenly Venerate Shendu continued. Sect Master Tianju? This fellow. Hanju thought of the heavenly sect master who was suppressed in the ancient desolate. Could it be that the heavenly sect master was planning on backstabbing him? I'll keep an eye open. Yes, let's talk about the heavenly Tao. Heavenly Venerate Shendu began to describe his next arrangements for the heavenly Tao. It still had to continue expanding. The flame race had given the sages too much stimulation. The living beings of the entire heavenly Tao were actually unable to defeat the chaotic race. It was simply a great humiliation. The sages would think of a way to increase the spirit chi in the immortal world and constantly teach Tao techniques to increase the strength of all the living beings. However, where the rules of the heavenly Tao were, it was impossible for them to increase without any worries. Heavenly Venerate Shendu mentioned Fang Liang. The sages were thinking of a way to gather the jade slip of creation for him. Fang Liang said that he had a way to expand the heavenly Tao. 2 hours later, Hanju had just left the 33rd heaven. He returned to the 100-peak Immortal River and sat on the 36th grade Reincarnation World Destruction Black Lotus. He asked in his mind, does Sect Master Tianju plan to betray the heavenly Tao? 4 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes. He was indeed a traitor. In that case, he wouldn't be polite anymore. The next day, Hanju came to Sect Master Tianju's Tao field. Sect Master Tianju opened a door and smiled at him. Fellow Taoist Han, you are such a rare guest. Is this your first time visiting me? Sect Master Tianju asked with a smile. Hanju smiled. Yes, I want to invite you to the 100-peak Immortal River as a guest. The Jie school has taken good care of the Holy Mother sect. You and I can get closer. The two of them spoke at the entrance of the Dao field. Presumably, the other sages could hear them. Sect Master Tianju smiled even wider. That's a good thing. Hanju grabbed his wrist affectionately and directly used the power of the imprisonment fiend celestial to immobilize him. The two of them disappeared. At first glance, the two of them seemed to be leaving hand in hand. They were very close,